Hello, good evening, everyone. So, welcome all to this webinar on how to get your PMP certification in 2023. And it gives me immense pleasure to go through this webinar with you because this is the first of its kind in 2023 that we are doing. And more so now because the way PMP is getting actually delivered has changed. And it's changed for better. We have got the 7th edition of the PMBOK. We'll go through all this as we progress. But with that, I think we'll start. Good evening, everyone. If somebody is joining from the West, good afternoon. And let's kick off with the session. So let us start with what is PMP. PMP stands for Project Management Professional, as you all know, and it is one of the gold standard credential in project management, which is offered by Project Management Institute, USA. So when you talk about a profession, it's something more than a certification, right? Like if you are learning a particular skill or you are learning a new knowledge area, you may be interested in a certificate. But if you are a profession, you are dedicating your entire career into something which is going to be your profession for the rest of your life. So project management is something like a profession, like maybe if you're a chartered accountant, it becomes your profession for the rest of your life. And PMP is nothing less than any of these professions. Okay. So when we talk about a profession, the first thing we actually look at it is, or when we are planning to do a certification, first we'll try to know as to why we are doing this. Okay, and what is the benefit of doing this. Before that, let me introduce myself. I'm a certified project management professional and also got my certification in 2016. I have been close to PMI since then. I come with around 20 years of experience in banking and financial services, mostly in operations and transformation. And I have expertise in my domain actually is in capital markets, derivatives, commercial banking and banking transformation. And I have been lucky to move from operations to business analysis to project management. And also right now I'm handling a team where we are doing the transformation for one of the multi-year program of the banking industry. So I'm actually involved with the PMI since I completed my PMP. The reason being the way PMP is getting delivered and the way you actually involve in PMP, because it's not an easy credential to get. So it becomes part of your life in one way or the other. As you're preparing, you come to actually appreciate it much more than just going through the books as just like a syllabus for an exam. And that actually made me be a volunteer with PMI. Even after I completed my exam, I volunteered PMI for workshops on PMP exam development. So as you know, the exams that you take for PMP is also developed by the professionals themselves. It's a volunteering work that we do for PMI. Of course, the standards are set by PMI. There are board of directors who look at the strategic part of PMI, but the entire work actually gets done through the volunteers like us who are PMP professionals. So I got an opportunity to do a little bit of touring as well to attend these workshops to write the PMP exam questions. Post that, during the pandemic, because it was a lean period, I got involved with PMI as the South Asia champion. This is where we do the advocacy. We try to mentor people who want to do their PMP, and it may be within your own organization. You talk about anybody is interested in doing PMP or any project management related certification. You actually mentor them and make sure that it's not only PMP but anything other than PMP also. We try to find out what is their interest, and based on the interest, we do the advocacy of a PMP for those kind of candidates who are interested in PMP. And now I am actually a PMI ATP instructor. So I actually I'm actually an instructor for PMP. I take on behalf of ProThoughts. ProThoughts is my sponsor for getting the PMI ATP instructor certified. So I take weekend classes online to actually help get the 35 PDUs, which is a mandatory training requirement for getting into a PMP examination. So that's a brief about me. So let's see what we'll go through today. That's the agenda for you. Let us first look at the project economy. When I say PMP, you should also have an idea about where the demand is. Okay, why PMP? Why not something else? Why not something like a data analyst or something like a AI professional? Okay, how is actually project project management going to help me if I do PMP? So you have to first understand what's the demand. So that's the project economy. A PMP certification will just see what how the PMP certification has grown over the years, why it's actually considered the gold standard credential in project management, and how it's growing so far, and what's the demand going forward. And the PMI history and evolution, this will give you a fair idea of what PMI stands for. It's not only a certification body, it goes much beyond that. It actually looks at how we can develop this project management as a whole profession altogether. So it's a continuous improvement exercise which is happening in PMI. You'll get a flavor of it as you look through the history and the way it's evolving. And then we get into um, the actual PMP, like what exactly is required for a project management professional to actually become a PMP. And there is something called the talent triangle, and there are various development approaches. These are all the main parts of PMP that you'll be going through, without which it does not make too much of a sense as to why PMP is actually different from any other certification in project management. And you look at the principles and domains, and principles and domains have been changing over a period of time. It used to be a more of a process oriented kind of certification, which has slowly evolved with agile, and with agile coming in, it's looking at more of the softer aspects of what a project manager can do, and how these softer aspects in terms of principle can be utilized in all of the domain areas that you touch upon as a project manager, and how it can help you to be a holistic kind of look at project management as a holistic kind of a knowledge area, rather than just delivering the project given the constraints. Okay, and then we'll see how the new PMP learning experience, the new PMP learning experience, how it looks, right from having the study material in place to having your examination. Everything is standardized. So you'll just have a look at that to understand how standardized is PMP in terms of everything, right from the person who teaches it is actually involved in getting trained. The material is fully prepared by PMI, all of this. So you'll just learn what it is. And then finally, the reasons. After going through all of this, you'll just know exactly the reasons why you should be PMP certified, and how it actually helps you to get a PMP certification. And then, of course, question and answers. You can type in your questions, and I'll just be able to answer it. We'll dedicate around 40 minutes to go through the presentation, after which I'll have a poll for you, and then after the poll, we'll go through the question answer sessions. Before we start, uh, first about the ProThoughts. ProThoughts has been a pioneer and is now the premier authorized training partner for PMI. So they are into corporate training, where they have for project management, program management, agile transformation, and recently they got the discipline agile coach license as well to actually train the businesses into being enterprise agile. So that's something which is new now. And apart from that, we actually have the exam simulators. Okay, when you're writing competitive exams, some of the difficult exams like PMP, what is most important is having a simulator which is similar to what actually you see on a real on a in a real world when you go to the examination hall, whatever you get. So the exam simulator has a similar type of questions prepared and also reviewed by some of the professionals, and also reviewed by more than two or three people, so that it is as close to the actual exam as possible. And PMI certification, of course, they have all the PMI certifications: PMP, PGMP, DASSM, that is for your discipline agile, and RMP is your risk management professional, schedule professional. Apart from that, they have various other courses that you can take from ProThoughts, which help you to get the PDUs. After you become a PMP, it's essential that you you gain 60 PDUs in the gap of 3 years, so that you can maintain your PMP certification. So there are various courses for that. So that's also provided by ProThoughts. And of course, there are various e-learning or training opportunities similar to what you saw in terms of the corporate training and the PMIS. And there is something called Talk, where we actually have audio courses. There are books available, audio books available. Some of the books for which ProThoughts is also a dealer in terms of getting the right books for your certification. All right, so that's about the ProThoughts. Let's move directly now to the introduction. As we were talking about the project economy in our agenda, what does project economy mean? Okay, projects are actually transforming. What is project? It is transforming ideas into reality on a day-to-day basis. And and some of the project management professionals are involved not only in a particular domain or industry, they are spread across industries. Okay, and there are new ways that we have to adapt as we see the new normal coming in. There are various ways with which we have adopted, which the PMI calls the new ways of working. And there are disruptions which we come through, and how we actually have the resilience to face those challenges and come out of it, and come out of the future, even think about the future disruptions that you may actually encounter going forward. And for all this, they need skilled project management professionals. Okay, and there is a survey done by PMI. Okay, it's called the PMI 2022 Jobs Report, which showcases the emerging sectors. Okay, and the trending industries where project leaders can drive the change. And this was done not only in isolation, but looking at the geopolitical environment, looking at the economic environment across the nations in various regions around the world. And that was the result that we see in this table here. In every region, you see that there is a particular economic trend. Okay, and for instance, Asia Pacific, for instance, has the consumer spending is increasing. Okay, and China's energy transition plan is fueling growth. So if you are somewhere in that region, China and rest of South Asia, it does not Asia Pacific, sorry, and not it does not include South Asia like India. Okay, so there is a lot of demand for energy sector, because the energy sector is disrupted due to a war with Ukraine, and there is a whole new dynamics now in the energy sector. Energy, pharmaceuticals, of course, as we know, we have gone through the pandemic. Of course, there is a demand for pharmaceuticals, and how the whole it's becoming a global industry now. It's not only limited to pharmaceutical industry to a particular nation, but sharing of ideas and research across various places. Fintech, robotics, banking, of course, because there is an emerging trend and there is always demand in these countries. Asia Pacific, especially if you look at Singapore, Indonesia, all these are fastest growing countries. So the fintech, robotics, and banking and AI, these are the various sectors where project managers are required to make sure that the ideas are turned into reality. Europe is a separate ball game altogether. As we know, we just spoke about the war, so there is supply chain disruptions, rising energy prices, and there is a rapid digitization. There is a need for rapid digitization because they cannot afford to have uh, the cost increases in any of these industries. So they are looking for IT to make sure that digitization can help them. And there is a whole conflict in the region which will have long-term economic consequences. So you'll see a lot of disruptions in terms of the way it's being managed so far and how it will be managed going forward, given all the challenges. So that's actually fueling some growth in the IT project management sector in Europe. And the Middle East and North Africa is also becoming interesting because the oil prices are rebounding and governments are also investing in mega projects, whether it is large building projects or the construction industry or some of the events like say Expo Dubai and the recent FIFA World Cup. All these will give rise to new demand and new projects to be kicked off in various industries like say tourism, infrastructure, events and sports. So you can see the various industries where project management is actually required. It cannot be looked in isolation as only IT. It is much more than IT in other sectors as well. Because the majority of us in India are from the service sectors and IT, we feel project management is all about IT, but you can see the various industries where the requirements are. And of course, the North America, we have seen the great resignation and there are supply chain problems. There have been loss of jobs. And there is a problem of having jobs. There is a huge requirement for people who can work in these regions. They are looking forward for job seekers. And companies are going more into automation and digitization just to become more and more competitive. So again, the opportunity there is in automation and digitization. And any of the skills, if you have in automation and digitization, if it is combined with PMP as a profession, it will open doors for a large number of job opportunities that are available. South Asia is becoming very interesting. The reason being it's more of a IT and IT related industries, especially in India. So there is a global demand for products manufactured in South Asia as they stop relying more on China after the pandemic. There is a huge demand which is coming towards India, and there is demand for products manufactured in India. And India being a startup hub now, we are seeing a lot of new companies with new kind of products that are being offered at a more affordable price. So they are looking for somebody who are into innovation, product development, and they are willing to invest in mostly in the service sectors on project managers and people with good leadership skills. So that's what the report says for South Asia, which is a definite plus if you are in India, and of course in other South Asian countries where we are into mostly into services and new products. And Africa, of course, Africa actually has a different kind of a demand. If you look at it, you will not even imagine that, Africa receives around one third of global aid, okay? And roughly 32 billion of that, 32 billion of the global aid is going to Africa. Now, how does this actually help the project management as a profession is that it's giving rise to a lot of new requirements like say construction, green energy, and around 45% of this growth requires people with project management knowledge to actually work in these industries to make projects successful. So you can just see the kind of demand that the project management as a profession has. You may be involved in any of the domains. You may be into banking, you may be into energy sector, you may be into telecom, or any of the high engineering kind of a industry that you're coming from. You may be from tourism, or you can even be from event management. All of this requires some kind of a project management expertise, and you'll see how, as we progress, you'll see how project managers can actually contribute as a professional across these industries, and what are the various things that actually help what are the various knowledge areas and the skills that are actually helping the project managers deliver the projects in all these industries. A little bit about PMP certification, how it's grown and how it looks as of now, and why you should do, what does it actually mean for you to be a project management professional. Now, all around the world, around we have PMP professionals across all the 195 countries. They are earning and maintaining the project management certification. We see very few people who are not actually continuing with the certification. When I say continuation with the certification, it means that after you become PMP certified, you have to actually renew it every 3 years, and you have to get the required number of PDUs. Now, these PDUs ensure that you are involved in project management knowledge, and you are gaining the most latest knowledge in project management, and you're developing your skills, so that each of these skills that you develop, you have to present it to project management institute, and they give you a particular PDU, number of PDUs. Maybe if you are involved in a training, like say for this training, if you are already a PMP and you are attending this training, you get one PDU because you are attending this for 1 hour, and you are dedicating this 1 hour to the development of yourself as a professional. So that's something people have actually earned and also maintained the project management professional certification. And the PMP delivers real value, right? From, the professional credibility that you get, the deep knowledge that you gain, which will actually help you become more explorative. It changes your perspective. You may be doing great projects as of now. You may not be a PMP certified, but you'll observe that after you become a PMP certified, your perspectives will change. The level of depth that you look at, you'll start concentrating on how part of delivering the project rather than what is delivered, right? As of today, you may be delivering really well on all the projects. It is what part of it, what have you delivered? So that's something which is the question you are ready to answer by the end of the year. But how did you deliver is something which will make you a real professional. It differentiates you from the rest of the project management professionals who are not certified. Okay, so it really brings this kind of a value, I have observed that, and that's the reason I've been closely involved with PMI. And definitely it increases your earning potential, because the industry knows that it's not an easy credential to get. You have to internalize few things as a to actually pass this exam. You have to get those core skills, and also these things are hard coded in you when you actually are passing the exam. That's what it actually shows. And how does it do that, we will see later. Okay, so there are about 1.2 lakhs, I mean, sorry, 1.2 million project management professionals as of today. Okay, it was just 50K in 2002. You'll see how the graph later. Um, you'll be really surprised to see the way it's grown. And the 16% higher is actually the salaries are 16% higher for a PMP holder in rest of the world, whereas in US it's 32% higher than a non-certified professional. And of course, there is, as we saw, the project economy, there is a need for project management professionals. There are around 2.3 million annual job openings across the world. That comes from the survey done by PMI 2022 job survey, and 25 million new project management employees are required. It's not only the project manager, but also the people who work within the projects, right? You may not be a project manager, uh, you know, uh, having complete authority, but you're working in the project. But if you are a project management professional, the way you look at things and you way you build your leadership will actually change. So that's what it means, like 25 million new project management employees are required across the world. So that gives you some flavor of how PMP has grown and what is the value that you'll add yourself, and as well as the new job opportunities that you can fill, um, and also make it your career. We'll look at a brief history of project management. It is quite interesting because it is not like an organization started formally. Okay. In 1969, actually in 2019, I was part of one of the conferences where I was presented this book, 50 Years of PMI. And that's where, after going through all that, this is what I could put here in this slide. And what it shows is that in 1969, somewhere in US, Atlanta, USA, it was started as the American Planning and Scheduling Society. It was not a formal organization kind of a thing which started it. There were a group of volunteers who came together to discuss how they do the planning and scheduling activities. And during those times, they could take some of these tools and techniques from the armed forces, because there were too many wars which had happened. The World War II had just concluded, and there were quite a few people who were working on project management related activities, but it was not a profession as such during that time. But they were involved in the planning and scheduling for many of the projects that they were doing, and they were doing all in isolation. There was never a particular skill set or a particular tools and techniques that was prescribed, or no one knew how to use any of these tools. Whatever was available and applicable in that particular industry, they used to do that and carry on with their work. And as this association became bigger and bigger, they started having more and more volunteers involved. And there was a need to actually build a body of knowledge, so that you bring a structure to to a knowledge area, right? When you have a knowledge area, you may have a lot of very good ideas, but to make it as a profession, you have to you have to put it in a particular structure. Without the structure, you cannot actually explain as to how this particular knowledge area will help a particular individual, right? So that's the reason they started doing this. And it's only in 1996, that's uh, almost about 36 years later, they uh, they came up with the first guide on the project management body of knowledge. Project management body of knowledge, as you know, is a reference material which gives you an idea of how a project can be managed. It gives you a lot of flexibility now, but previously it used to be more prescriptive in terms of what are the various processes that you need to follow, what are the various issues you may face, how to get into those issues, and how to reduce those issues in the first place, how to manage risks better so that you have lesser issues. All these things were actually written down in a very, very structured way in 1996. And then as it as you see, in 1998 it became a professional body. Okay, it was called pmi.org. It was an organization of project management institute. The institute was formed uh, in in USA in 1998, and pmi.org was launched. That was the official website, and it attracted around 1 million visits because it was a new kind of a disruption in the industrial in the industrial sector, and everyone wanted to know what project management can do for them. And I think that's the interest which grew across the industries. And after they saw this 1 million visits, it was quite encouraging. And then PMI's professional certification department actually was conferred the um, received the ISO 9001 distinction, because the way the things were actually written down in these body of knowledge, and the way the PMI was working towards developing project management as a profession, the certification department actually became became first of its kind to receive ISO 9001 certification during that time, which shows the quality, right? The quality of the materials, the way it is practically applicable in the industry, whatever the knowledge is that is written, knowledge areas that are written there, can it be actually practically applied in the industry? Based on that, these certifications was given. And in 2001, it became American national standard. Okay, ANSI is similar to what we have ISI here, like Indian Standard Institute. In the same way, the American national standard, it actually defines as to what are the what is the kind of quality that you need to maintain in PMBOK guide. And even now, it is ANSI certified. It's a ANSI certified quality that you see in PMBOK guide. Okay, and as of now, what we have is PMBOK guide 7, and it's evolving over a period of time. Okay, and it has moved to um, edition 7 now. Okay, when I did my PMP, it was edition 5, and I can see there is a lot of difference the way the profession has grown, the software aspects to it, agile, hybrid, everything getting involved. It is definitely a very standard material. And also in 2004, actually PMI was invited by the government of USA to help them implement project management concepts into the government. Okay, the government officials of US were actually trained in project management, and it became officially uh, the certification to have in case you are involved in any of the government related work. So that was definitely a feather in the cap for PMI. And in 2017, the PMBOK 6th edition was released. Sixth edition was also very important because Agile was introduced for the first time in project management. Agile was actually a separate course as well. If you are writing purely Agile kind of a, if you want a purely Agile kind of a certificate, you have PMI ACP, Agile Certified Professional. But they started saying that Agile is more and more relevant to the industry. And don't forget that this is not just told by PMI, but the professionals who are practicing the project management, right? Because all this PMBOK guide and all that is written by the professionals themselves. Sometimes I have not been involved so far, but there are chances that you will be invited to actually contribute towards a PMBOK guide. And that's where you actually bring the industry experience, and you see how relevant the knowledge areas are for for the given times, and you keep improving the PMBOK guide over a period of time. So Agile was first introduced, and apart from that, the Boston Consulting Group was also um, involved in this. They consulted the Boston Consulting Group, the PMI consulted, and they got in and they brought something called the Bright Line Initiative. Now, these are various models that the Bright Line Initiative talks about. These models actually help you to refine the way you actually uh, do the work in the do the work in your projects. Okay, it's something very close to what you get the CMM, right? The capability maturity model. In the same way, there is a maturity model that has been defined. That's the Bright Line Initiative, which came up in 2017. And 2021, that's end of Q3 2021, the PMBOK 7th edition was launched. And PMBOK 7th edition was quite different from other editions. The reason being it was not into a traditional input tools and techniques and output kind of a process. It became more and more, it started giving more and more importance to the agile aspects, especially the enterprise agile aspects. It started giving importance to some of the models which were taken from the Bright Line initiative. And there were various other things that were involved from the various other industries, like say the automotive industry, Kanban, continuous improvement methods, and how that can be applied across not only in manufacturing but across various departments within the organization, and how can that be part of a professional project manager's skill set. So that's something which is coming out quite clearly in the 7th edition. So if you look at the lower part of the slide here shows how PMP certified actually certified professionals actually gradually improved over a period of time. The numbers, if you see 2002, we had 50,000 PMP professionals. In 2012, it moved to 5 lakh or half a million. And in 2022, end of 2022, we have around 1.2 million, that is 12 lakh professionals across the world who are PMP certified. And PMP actually, the PMI actually encourages each of the regions to have their own chapters, because once you get the PMP, it's just not okay, you got your certification, you're done. But what actually matters is you are associated with the like-minded people, because that's how PMI started, right? So the like-minded people or the professionals who are working in the industry will actually help to form a particular association, and PMI chapters actually help you do that. It helps you build your knowledge even after you are PMP certified, to keep you more current in terms of what's happening in the industries, various industries, to gain the necessary skills. And through that, of course, you gain your PDUs, which is required for continuing your certification. There are around 300 plus PMI chapters all around the world. And all of this is being driven by volunteers, right? Everything, right from the chapters, the way chapters are actually running, the board of directors within the chapters, the people who are working on various initiatives from the chapter's perspective, everybody are volunteers. So it's basically a volunteer run organization. And that's the success of that's speaks of volumes about the success of PMI. Now, we have spoken about what's the project economy, where the demand for project management professionals are coming from. We have seen how the PMP as a certification has grown over a period of time, how it can be helpful not only to the industries, but also help you earn better, and also the future opportunities that we have. And also we have seen how it evolved over a period of time. Okay. No doubt that PMP is actually considered as the gold standard in the gold standard credential in the project management space. Now, what does it take to become a PMP professional? That's something we'll go through from this slide onwards. It'll be quite interesting for you to see how PMI has divided in the knowledge into three broad, you know, domain areas. Okay, one is the ways of working. This is called the talent triangle. Okay, it actually reflects the skills needed by today's project professionals or the change makers as they navigate through the evolving world of project management. Okay, that's how PMI defines its evolving world of project management. What are the key skills that you should have? Everything is encompassed in these three in this particular talent triangle, which has three domains as such. One is the ways of working. Ways of working actually talks about the various approaches that you take as a project manager. What is the approach do you take in a given situation? Okay. Now, if agile is something that the rest of the world is doing, okay, and you are in the same industry, okay, and you are tempted to do agile, that's not the best thing to do. That's what project management says. You have to be more pragmatic, more practical, okay. Maybe your maturity in terms of getting the right infrastructure in place, having the right kind of professionals to do the work is not as much as any other organization which is doing agile, okay. So it demands a little bit different kind of an approach in your kind of organization. So if you have to be successful in the projects within an organization which is less in terms of which is less mature in terms of the ways of working, it's better to go for traditional project management or the predictive style of project management, where you have better scope management, you have a better change management in place. Because if you are working in a traditional organization which is hierarchical based, every change that you want to do has to go through a particular change management board to get it approved, and then you get the funds to do the change. So if this is the kind of organization you're working with, agile may not work. You may try to do in a agile approach, but it will not work. So what project management institute or the PMP says is that, be pragmatic. Don't force fit a particular approach just because it's in trend. Okay. You have to do what actually fits you. And that's something where ways of working comes into picture. Now it helps you not only to follow a particular approach, but also it gives you a flexibility to choose the approach based on whatever works for you, based on the level of maturity or the kind of project that you're doing. Say, for instance, you are building a building, you are in a building industry, you're in a construction industry, and you're building an office space. uh, it does not happen on agile basis, right? You may be doing work piece by piece delivery. You may be doing a delivery in phases, but the plan is actually something which comes first. Without having the plan, without having the space, without having an idea of how much it will cost, you cannot actually start the project. So you may be actually delivering this work in phases, but it's actually a predictive uh, style of approach of project management, of project delivery. Okay. So that's something which you have to keep in mind, that you're just not doing what is in trend as of today or something which is considered the way to go, but you have mastered the diverse ways of and the creative ways of choosing the right approach. So that's what the ways of working talks about. And when it comes to power skills actually talks about what is the kind of uh, people management knowledge that you have. Okay. How are the various interpersonal skills and all the other skills that you have, which can help you navigate the project management space much better. And business acumen. You cannot do any of these projects or any of these things in isolation. You have to be aware of the larger environment. So how you are aware of the larger environment, how you see the larger environment affecting your organization, and how your organization is forming strategy based on the larger environment, and how you do projects to comply with these is something that you learn in this particular domain, which is called the business acumen. So this is what we are speaking about, the right approach. On one side, there is predictive, where the scope is fixed. There are constraints of cost, time, and cost, time, and scope on one end, and you are given a particular level of quality that you have to achieve. That's a predictive. Adaptive is where you are doing slightly difficult projects in terms of scope. You don't know the scope exactly. You make a start and then you progress slowly, and you make sure that you are able to deliver feature by feature in phases, and you come to the final product. Okay. So the more difficult it is to predict, you are using an adaptive approach. And there is a hybrid, which is a combination of both. You can choose some of the aspects of predictive, and some of the ways of adaptive and make your work easier. And let's look at these approaches. Okay, you might have seen this predictive approach. This is also called the waterfall approach. It's like a feasibility, then comes design, build, test, deploy, and close. Whereas iterative is something you do in iterations, and you're doing in iterations till the final product is ready, and then you release the final product. And within the agile, there are two ways. One is the iterative, which you're seeing on the right hand top, and there is something called incremental, where you release feature by feature. You have a particular feature to be developed, you develop it, release it to the system, take the feedback from your customer, and then try to improve that product again. Okay, so you're releasing the feature in an incremental, whereas in iterative, the final product is released after all the iterations are done. So that's the difference that you see in. So let us look at the principles. Okay, there are 12 principles that have been defined in project management. Now, how are these principles relevant? These principles are actually helping you um, to be an effective and efficient project manager. And at the same time, there are a lot of behavioral aspects that are included here. For instance, the stewardship. Will not go through everything. The stewardship is something where you are acting responsibly. Okay, you're becoming more like a role model for the rest of your team, and you're following all the guidelines. It's just not about delivering the right product at the right time. You're delivering being aware of the internal and external guidelines, and you're following all the guidelines. And there is one more thing that PMI talks about. Apart from that, I would not touch about many of these things. Systems thinking, okay? Dynamic circumstances. How do you actually respond to the dynamic changes that are happening, okay? You might be coming with a product with a particular idea, but as the system or the external environment changes, are you able to think pragmatically and make changes quickly, okay? And adaptability and resilience, this is something which you will get uh, yeah, as a project management professional. Why I'm saying this is because right from the way you organize your studies to getting a PMI, sorry, your PMP certification, right from the way you organize yourself to getting the PMP certification done, and how you actually manage your time within your examination. Okay, that's also a kind of that shows your adaptability and resilience in a very strong way. It does not have to be only after you pass your PMP, but the process of getting PMP itself shows has to have that particular skill in you, where you are adaptable, where you are responding to the change. Depending on the situation, you are able to be more flexible, and you are resilient at the same time. If there are some unforeseen circumstances, you don't get discouraged. You come out of it, you come out of the failures, and you try to achieve whatever you wanted to achieve uh, in a more effective way, rather than going by the preconceived ideas which you had at the beginning of the project. Okay, that shows your resilience, how quickly you can come back if your plans change. And all of these principles actually are feeding into the various domains. Okay, now domains is something where you'll see that stakeholders, okay, this is a particular knowledge area. How to manage the stakeholders on a day-to-day basis? How do you classify them? How do you identify them? And how do you manage your team? How do you manage your planning work? The actual delivery, are you doing it in predictive? If you're doing in predictive, are you following the right phases? If you're doing it in agile, are you actually delivering in the right phases? And whether whether your outcomes are actually being accepted by the customer, and how it's adding value to them. That talks about how you are delivering it. The uncertainty, the risk part of it. Planning, of course, without planning there is no project. So all of these principles are um, actually feeding into the domains, and each of these domains are the knowledge areas that you need to have as a project manager, which you will be going through in the PMBOK guide, and as part of the training. before you write your exams. And the entire question, the entire PMP questions, whatever you get, is all dependent on one of these domains. How do you combine it with the rest of the principles, and how you come up with the right answers based on the situation. So most of the questions are situational based questions, where you have to be very clear as to how you make a combination of the principles and the practices and the knowledge areas to come up with the right answer for your questions. So that's again, you'll get a better idea as you practice. Okay, especially in examination. Coming to the new PMP, what is new about the PMP in 2023, and why you should do it now? Okay, so far the PMP was actually delivered, the trainings were actually delivered through a registered education provider, and it was up to the registered education provider as to how he teaches that particular, whether they use only the PMBOK or they use their own set of training material. It was up to the registered education provider. But and there was no exam content outline. Okay, so there is something called the exam content outline, which came after the sixth edition of PMBOK. So there were questions, there was a particular structure in which the questions had to be asked based on the exam content outline. And right now, what they have done is they have moved from the registered education provider to something called the ATP, Authorized Training Partner. So authorized training partner is somebody like ProThoughts. They actually, based on the experience and the ability to deliver the trainings, they have got this particular recognition from PMI. It's a badge given to ProThoughts. And the trainers like me are also part of the ATP, but we are the ATP instructors. Okay, so we get our badges as well. So there is a training for us to go through, and after the training, there is a particular assessment which we pass, and after that we get the badge. And only after getting the badge, we are supposed to do the training for PMP. So what it actually shows is it's becoming more standardized, and it's a controlled product as of now, compared to the era when it was with the registered education providers. So there is in-house delivery, which is this is all from the ProThoughts. You'll get superior materials. There are various materials which is prescribed, especially Rita Mulke is one of the books that is a very good summary of the PMBOK, and it actually helps you to get closer to the exams. So PM ProThoughts is one of the dealers for this particular, for all the materials from Rita Mulke Corporation. And there is a support. So you get a support until you pass your exam. The instructor, as myself, will be in close contact with you until you can pass the exam. We can have some webinars, some knowledge sharing sessions, or some uh, queries and answers. We can answer your queries before you actually go for your exam, whether it is application related queries or whatever. So all this is actually leading to a better learning process, and which will make sure that you become a certified professional. And after all this, what we conclude is that, what are the basic reasons why you should get your PMP certification? Because it actually proves that you can lead project in an organization in any industry around the world. It does not have to be a particular geography or a particular industry. You are actually able to deliver whatever is required in any given industry, provided you are a professional and you follow the principles and domains and how you actually apply your knowledge. And it actually helps you to shift from predictive approach to agile, or to the hybrid approach. You possess greater resilience and can optimize project constraints much better, so that you can achieve time to market and deliver better results. You'll be recognized world over, because PMP certification is designated by project leaders for the project leaders. So as we've already discussed, the whole material and the way it's being delivered, everything is done as volunteers by the project management professionals. And who are going to benefit? It's the future project leaders, or then the future um, PMP certification holders that will be benefited from all this. And PMP credential, as we have already discussed, it's also a global gold standard in project management. And it is a future proof for your performance and gives a boost for your career and also your earning potential. So we should not forget that what it brings for you at the end of the day, better earning potential. So if you want to work smart and drive meaningful change, you have to apply for PMP now. And there is no better time than now because the PMBOK 7 is quite a good mix of agile, and it's a very good time to actually get into this PMP as you upskill yourself. Okay. PMI authorized training partner for project management. Okay. We are ProThoughts is one of the authorized training partners, which we already discussed. If you want to know more about project management with free knowledge session, just make a note of this. I'm just putting this in the, sorry, prothoughtsolutions.com project management webinars. That will give you a free knowledge session on how to apply for PMP or how PMP will be helpful for you. As I was speaking about Rita Mulke, this is the 11th edition which has come up now, which is in line with the current exam content outline. Exam content outline is the basis on which your exams are, and the Rita Mulke's book is something which is based on that particular exam content outline. This is the new edition which has come based on PMBOK 7th edition. And you can buy this from ProThoughts at a much lesser cost than what you see in Amazon. So you can get in touch with ProThoughts to get this. So this is various social media where ProThoughts are available. You can have a look at how ProThoughts has been pioneering some of the training, some of the training materials and the way we are actually delivering the training. So let's move with that. I would like to actually bring to your attention that there is an upcoming workshop, PMP online workshop that's coming on 25th, 26th, 4th and 5th March. All of these trainings are on weekends. So 2 weekends you'll have to spend for making sure that you get your uh, required knowledge to write the PMP examination. It's 35 PDUs is what is required for you to actually sit for the exam. So that 35 PDUs is provided by ProThoughts after you attend these trainings. There is a training coming up. We do it from 9 to 6 on 2 Saturdays and Sundays. So 25th, 26th, and 4th and 5th March. If you are planning, you still have time. We have the um, we have it. We have some openings, so you can just talk to ProThoughts and register yourself. If you have any other questions, you can take these numbers and also the email address. You can get in touch with ProThoughts and they will be more than happy. We'll be more than happy to come back to you.